Hi, Rebecca. How are you? No, maybe not. Oops. Where'd she go? There she is. Awesome.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, there you go. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, my car
Okay,
wouldn't
cool.
start, so I feel like you jinxed me last week when you said,
Oh, well, it's colder up there than it is here.
gosh, it's cold out.
Did they start school on time up there?
They don't have class on Fridays. They're just Monday through Thursday every week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Those are always fun. Do the teachers go in on Friday?
They go in, I think, 2 Fridays a month for like in service.
Yeah. Do they do a lot of the 4-day school weeks will do a like 8 to noon for students who need to get caught up and those kinds of things?
Yeah, students can go in on Fridays.
Yeah. That's always fun.
Yeah, it seems to work really well.
Good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good morning. Stop that. Yawning. I yawn when I'm cold. Yeah. It's like midst of freezing to death, I'm certain of it. So is everybody good this week? Life is going good, other than the cold? No wind. There was no wind this morning. That's a good thing, right? All right. Anybody have any questions over anything? I'm starting to get some of the competencies in. Those are pretty good. Don't forget to put your rubric in. Remember, that's your first defense in there. And if you forget it, I'll just shoot you an email and tell you to put it in there. Okay. And again, I'll hold you to those deadlines, but if life gets in the way, just shoot me an email saying life got in the way. I need to put this off a little bit because that's going to happen. It does. You can't really gauge what's going to happen a month and a half from now. So think about that. If you have any questions too in doing any of that, let me know. I usually give feedback on those and rather than a grade right away. So check it to make sure to read the feedback. And I know that sometimes finding that feedback is kind of tough in D2L. So if you have a hard time with that, let me know. All right. All right. We're going to go over some activities today that you guys can do to help your students understand that vocab level, that trivia level that you have in class, that very basic information to get them active, because we know that an active mind is the one that's actually going to be learning something. The first thing we're going to do is called you've all heard of think, pair, share, right? Done to death. We're going to do what's called a think, pair, repair. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to pair up, find a person. Rebecca, you can be my person. All right, so find a person. Go ahead, find each other. Need 2 of you. If you need some help, I can help you out. All right, good morning. Dun, 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 dun. Does everybody have a person? Awesome. All right, I'm going to give you 2 words. Those 2 words right there. Power and force. And those words can be used in just about any content area, whether it's by ed or science or math or music or anything. Power and force, right? It's there. So what I want you to do is first in your pairs, and we're going to have 3 back there, it looks like. Perfect. So in your group, I want you to decide, what do those 2 words mean in your life? What do those 2 words mean? That's the big open-ended question you have. What do those 2 words mean in your life? Come to a consensus in your pair. Let me give you about 45 seconds to get that first part done. It doesn't matter. You're all individuals, can be in your content area. You guys just need to come to a consensus what those 2 words mean in your world. What do you think, Rebecca?
I feel like both these words are kind of dangerous. Like power. In my opinion, like I feel like power. They're like nothing to do with English, but I mean.
Oh, but think even in terms of Macbeth, right? Power.
Yeah, that's true.
So in all of literature, your main character, that forceful character, typically has control over other things.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
All right, I'm going to turn this around for you to watch what's going to happen next. All right, we hope. Awesome. All right. All right, did you come to a consensus? Awesome. Now your group needs to find another group. So find another pair. Pairs match up now. So we're going to have 4. And now you need to do the same thing with that group. Now you need to consent together. Now you need to come to another consensus. You guys? Join. Now you've got a larger group that now has to take your base knowledge of your pair, and now you have to come to a new consensus with your larger group. I'm hearing lots of feminism.
Yeah, I would like negative get different resources.
It sounds like a bad thing, right? Are you guys consensus? Got an agreement? Are you guys in agreement yet? Oh, no. Are you good? All right. Now, each group, find a whiteboard. Find a whiteboard. And you're going to need markers. If you don't have one, I'll throw you one. Ready? Ooh. Find a whiteboard. Now I want you to draw a visual representation of your consent idea. Give me a picture that shows your consent idea. Could be 2, could be 1. Remember, it's not an art class, right? So don't worry if you're drawing stick figures and those kinds of things. Give them an idea. Don't let them hang out all by themselves. Boats.
Oh, girl, horse carrying.
Can you see what they're drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You're doing great. You're doing great. This is really sad because I actually.
Yes. Okay.
Drawing on a whiteboard is not the same.
Isn't it? I saw high school kids the other day drawing with ink, and I was just amazed. You guys all done?
Big fire.
Is it on fire?
Yeah.
The pistons are out of order. The engine.
The engine is out. Okay, that's a bad thing. It's not Genie, get your 3 wishes kind of a thing.
Okay, but hold on one second. He looks insane.
Morning, Freddie.
Can you bring your kids?
I know, I'm always sad when he doesn't come in with the kids. I don't even know. We used to be able to, I brought my kids to class a couple of times back in the day. But I think they still allow it. Is it?
I wonder if it's a rule at this university. Our universities have to. I thought I'd seen it in syllabi before.
I thought I have 2, yeah. Could be some, yeah. All right, are we good? All right, now very briefly explain your concept of power and force, your consensed idea, as it relates to the pictures.
Okay. So for power, we chose feminism because it gives power to women.
So that's the symbol for female, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we all just agreed on like a car. Yeah, except for crush oil and fire resistance.
Nice. All right. How does that fit?
Well, force, we thought about the pistons in the engine.
Okay.
That's what started on fire for me. Because there wasn't any oil in the engine.
All right. Very cool. And you guys?
We went with like power and authority. Authority, so you have somebody telling somebody else to push your car. And the force comes in as in like force as an explosion. Pushing, you have to use force to push your car. So it's just somebody with power, somebody to push your car. With force.
Very good. All right. And you guys?
We kind of did like power forcing like these people to do something, pushing them around.
All right, very cool. All right, so this entire thing, really, I mean, it's 2 words. It's pretty darn simple to do. You did it in about 5 minutes, and that gets you together in small groups, and then you give a visual. So when that student now is thinking back to those words in terms of you're doing some sort of an assessment in your class, now they can think visually of those pictures that they see on the wall. Because we know that students all remember that picture much quicker than they're going to remember a lot of the conversation. So they might look at that up there and they're going to say, oh yeah, that was a guy in power and pushing something. This can also be done as a debate so that you can get them into pairs, get them into the next group of pairs, and then by the time all is done, you've got 2 sides to the classroom, and then those 2 sides of the classroom can debate what those 2 words mean and come to a giant consensus. That's one really quick thing to do. I like to do this one right away in the morning, like first thing, or in the afternoon. When they walk in the door, you put those 2 words up there. Now they're starting to think about it already. And now you've got them up, you've got them moving, you've got them a little bit active right away. They're not just waiting for something to happen. Can you see using this one in your classroom? How? And you can sit if you want to. How would you use this in your classroom?
3D and expand intervention or something, like for from a history point of view, just to have them with their base knowledge decide what a trigger means and then what expansion means for that.
Okay, very cool.
And then bring it back to what you're reading.
Okay, nice, 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 nice. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I think we were looking for a few more to like something new that we have to do. But instead of having like go out, having like things to
Oh, nice, I like that. Have to actually do the movement of whatever it is that they're doing. Yeah, I like that. Anybody else?
I'm not sure what everyone else said, but I was thinking like relating, like trying to get them to think about themes in a story. Like with Macbeth, you could use these, like we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Getting them to think and relate it back to whatever it is that you're doing in the classroom. Yeah, yeah. All right. Thoughts? All right, let's move on. I like this one. All right, so this is an app. This is a computer program called Padlet. And Padlet is basically an online corkboard is basically what this is. Anybody ever seen Padlet? Anybody ever used Padlet? Okay, so this is fabulous. So here's Padlet. This is an example of one that was done for oral histories and traditions. So basically the students can post to this and it's a running stream. So it's them keeping track of information, but it's in a shared version. So the first thing that most people freak out about this is, do you just let the students post without any kind of, like, can they post anything you want to? Yeah, yes, they can. But you as the instructor can also lock that down. You can moderate it. You can approve all of the postings that they do. And you can also, if they use a swear word, it'll come up as an emoji. So it posts with the emoji, so you know immediately the student that writes something and they shouldn't have written it, so you can monitor it that way. So this right here, I've started a Canvas, and I'm going to show you what can happen here. This right here can be shared out. I'm going to move Rebecca. All right, there you go. And you can share this out using a lot of different versions. You can use a QR code, or you can copy the link to the Padlet, you can embed it, you can email it to your students, put it on Facebook and Twitter, make it more to the world. So what I want you guys to do is, I'm going to copy this, put it into Word here real quick. And I want you to go to Padlet.com. And that is going to be what you put in as the as the canvas that you're going to be working on. So Padlet.com, and if you've got a tablet or a phone, there's an app, but you can go to Padlet.com right now. And the first thing I want you to do is I just want you to play with it a little bit. Just play. So the way you post to this is you double click. And then you can type something. Dun, dun, dun. This is a horrendous background. Oh, did I take it away? I did, didn't I? I put that up there and then I took it away. There you go. Padlet.com. Are we there? Close? Anybody just want to use a QR code? QR codes are fun too. Are we good? Nope, okay. If you ever do Padlet and pay for pay for it, which you can do, you can customize this so that you can make it whatever you want it to be. Something simpler. What's it giving you? Do this. Do. Oops. Those of you who are on a tablet, get your scanner up. You don't have a scanner on there? Are you sure? And you can come up and scan that. Do a search and type in scanner. Do you have Snapchat on it? Snapchat will scan it for you. Yeah. Do you guys know that the Snapchat is a scanner for QR codes? Is it working for you?
She got it.
You got it.
Ah. See, we just need to use the tech as it exists, right?
How do you pull up the scanner on iPad?
Just do a search and do scan. Or if you have Snapchat, maybe. Yeah, hold it. There we go. Got it. I had a kid tell me about the Snapchat thing. It just blew my mind. Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah. Teachers in my youth are rolling over in their graves.
Ah, mine won't do it.
Hold it.
Oh.
There
Ah.
you go. Should have just gone there to begin with. Did you find it? No. Do you have Snapchat? No, I don't care. No. Okay, so type in QR. Why do you not have a scanner? Interesting. Oh, there. There you go. Oh, it's going to have you download it. It's going to have you get it first. All right, so play with it first of all and see how it works. See how easy it is to work. And as the person who owns it, I can move these. I can make it so that I can move them, or I can have it be static while they're up there. I can do a lot of different things with that. Now, here's what you can do with this. Because it's a stream of consciousness, because it's right there in the moment, because as your students are doing things, we want them actively engaged in whatever it is that they're doing, right? So you can have your students be in this program. We'll let Miranda do this real quick. There you go. Yay. Awesome. And then you can show them a video. So for example, this right here, okay? As you are watching this video, I want you to write down the things that you see that make you go, wow. The things you see that make you go, wow. All right, so you as the instructor can immediately look. I now know nothing made you go, wow. Actually, I just need to refresh. Something sequence, I like that. Synchronization, Nice. Facial expressions, athleticism. Now I can see what's going on, but everybody else can see what's going on as well. So let's put this into another content area, right? So this is about the scientific method in science. So you can have your students watch this video, which is a pretty common video that a lot of students would watch in a science class. Khan Academy is the best anyway. But now what I want you to do is I want you to, in the Padlet, I now want you to ask questions about the video that you didn't understand, something they say that you didn't get, that you didn't understand.
Which at first might seem a little bit intimidating, but when we walk through it, you'll see that it's actually almost a common sense way of looking at the world and making progress in our understanding of the world and feeling good about that progress of our understanding of the world. So let's just use a tangible example here, and we'll walk through, we can consider the steps of the scientific method. You'll see different steps articulated in different ways, but they all boil down to the same thing. You observe something about reality, and you say, well, let me try to come up with a reason for why that observation happens, and then you try to test that explanation.
All right, so again, now you as the instructor can immediately get some feedback from the students about what's going on. Now, again, this is an example, right, of what's going on in class. Your students will have a lot more things to say through the entire video. And this can be done in a lot of different content areas. This is one for ag. So you're watching this, you can determine the question you ask them to be specific to whatever you have them put in the Padlet. So this one right here, I want you to write down any vocabulary words that you don't know.
A technological wave will revolutionize the efficiency of farms all over the world. It can't come soon enough. By the year 2050, the human population will be nearly 10 billion, which means we'll need to have doubled the amount of food we now produce. This is an examination of the agricultural innovations coming down the pipeline that will help get us there. The industry has undergone major developments over the last century. 100 years ago, farming looked like this. Today, it looks like this.
Now, how many of you are thinking of words only that you are hearing that you don't know? But I want you to think about this. How many of you saw things in there that you don't have a clue what they are? And those are those visual cues that you need to teach your students about as well. You're going to have a lot of students, especially because we're not all ag students, right? We're not all ag-based people. This right here is going to throw some of those urban kids for a loop. They're not going to have a clue what that is. So are they cutting things? Are they trying to fly? What's going on there, right? Because it looks like a helicopter thing. So that student now needs to be trained that not only is the vocabulary that they don't know something they might hear, but it's also something that they might see. And so your students in that Padlet, in a very safe, low-stakes environment, can put down that information and hear, and you know immediately where you need to go. You know immediately what vocab words, what ideas, what kinds of things they don't understand with this. Padlet itself is really, really simple to set up. And this god-awful background here, don't ever use this background. It's just awful, right? You can set it to be a clear screen. You can share this out to the world. So with this one right here, the oral histories, this went out to the world. So this was a freshman class. They were talking about oral histories. They were talking about Native American literature. They sent this question out to the world. They put it on Facebook. They put it on Twitter. And at that time, Snap wasn't as big a deal as it was. And they got families all over to contribute to this. So now they've opened up their content area, who's seeing this, that authentic audience a little bit more. And they got a much better grasp than just that small group of people that they hang out with every single day. Now, this can, I'll be honest with you, this can get out of hand if you don't, it depends on the kids. I've had a couple of classes that I've done this with where, you know, you have those kids who are twerps, right? And I had to moderate those. You just know who they are. So if you have a class that you know you need to moderate it. This one right here, the Frankenstein Time Machine, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Dr. Moreau, that was a senior level class. If I have to moderate a senior level class, putting this out to the world, that's a different story. So what you need to do is think about your class when you do that. Freddie?
Is it all anonymous, like,
It is, you can require, and a lot of times what I would do is I would tell the kids they have to put their initials. And it all depends on the situation. So like this one right
is there
here,
a way for you to know who posted it?
absolutely. Not, no, huh? Not unless they have accounts and you buy the pro version, which I wouldn't do, which is why you see this right here. So they had to take ownership of this in this section, but in this right here, it's just all a free-for-all. So it's low stakes. That student then can feel free to ask the question without everybody looking at them like, duh, we talked about that like yesterday, right? And that can sometimes stop students from asking those questions.
Can you prevent images?
You can, yeah. And you can lock it down a lot of different ways. Yeah. The emojis, moderate it where you have to go in and approve each one before it gets posted. And most one-to-one schools, you're going to have control of their computer screens as well, so that you can stop them from like going out to the web to get things to add to it. Yeah. I like Padlet. Padlet's used a lot. It may, fair warning here, when Padlet first started, it was completely free. The more popular these kinds of apps get, then they tend to start giving you only the smallest version free, and then they want you to pay for things beyond that. But Padlet's one of the ways that you can integrate that technology into the class and use it as a tool rather than just like, okay, go use your computer to write Word, right? Now, the other thing that you can do with this is concept mapping. And if you, I'm going to go all the way back here to this, and I'm going to make a Padlet. These are the different versions of the different things that you can do in here. Now, most of the time I pick a wall because I usually do it as at low stakes, just add information to it. But this canvas right here means that you can concept map, which means that your students can concept map those words that are going on. So you can put a word up in the middle, and then they can add their thoughts to it as they go along. Now, this is something that you can do too as homework. So they can go home and they can think about it and they can add to it as the night goes along, kind of like an exit ticket kind of a thing. And then the students can add to it over the night. It's a really simple homework assignment, something they have to think about. You can also, the nice thing about this is if you moderate it, you can just, once everybody's then added their stuff to it, then you can let it go to the world so that the first person who puts something up isn't the one who gets stolen from every time. You all know that. You all do discussion boards, right, on D2L, and you wait for that first person to write something, you read it, and then you kind of write something similar. You can moderate these so that they don't do that for that. But it's really simple to do. You can do different templates, different selections, pretty simple, and it is across the board. Doesn't matter if it's a Mac or an Android. You can do it on a phone, you can do it on a tablet, you can do it on a computer, which is fabulous. And for the most part right now, it's free. Oh, bless America, it keeps it free, right? All right, so the other thing that you can do, I'm gonna get out some of these here so that I don't. All right. All right, so you all have something written in front of you or something to write on sitting in front of you, right? So the other thing that you can do to help increase that vocab level, and you can play along, is to give them a 1-minute writing. 1-minute writings are really simple to do, and they are usually graded as a pass-fail. So again, you get an idea from that student about what's going on rather than giving them something that might take them forever to do and doesn't give you a lot of feedback for it, right? All right, so that is your word, diligent. And you notice I've given you the definition because the goal of students understanding vocabulary is not that they go to the dictionary and write down the definition. They're not going to do that. So the first thing I would ask if I'm going to do a low stakes 1-minute writing kind of a thing is diligent, quietly and steadily persevering in detail or exactness. Anybody have any questions about that? Anything you don't understand in that? Any words you don't understand in that? Has anybody ever heard the word before? Awesome. Has anybody ever used the word before? Very cool. All right, so in 1 minute, I want you to just simply write me a story about the most diligent thing you've ever done. The most diligent thing you've ever done. So that after about a minute, you've got a very quick, low stakes writing, you've got a formative assessment, you've got a pre-assessment about what that student understands about this particular word. Now, the nice thing about this is that something like this doesn't necessarily have to be done on paper. And again, paper's a nice thing. I can grab it. It could be on a note card, could be on a sticky note, could be on a lot of different things. If you use Socrative, I'm going to show you this one. And you all have Socrative as a teacher account and a student account, or you should if you don't by now, right? Is you can set up this to be a short answer. And I can literally just put in the short answer. I can put in the question there, which is, what is the most diligent thing you've ever done, right? Yes, I am one that has to erase the whole word if I've got 2 letters screwed around. I can allow unlimited responses, so if the student screws up, I don't like to do that. I love messy. That's me. I love messy. If you screw up, I want to see what that screw up is so I can see where your thoughts were. This one right here requires student names. I can start that, and anybody who has this right here. So if you were to go to Socrative, go ahead and do that. Socrative.com and type in MEKS1. And now you're going to do that same exercise, except for it's all digital. It's all now given to me in digital form, so I can go from there. So go ahead and type something. Again, we're just doing an example, right? MEKS1. MEKS1 is up the top. It's my name in one. Ooh, awesome. Here you go. And now you're getting a very quick idea of what your students and how they apply that word. Do my students understand it? Are they putting something up there like, I changed a tire and I used the diligent? Then you know they don't know what that word means, right? And I know that's a pretty inane suggestion there, but this right here, you can even put those ideas up. You can put them up at the end. The nice thing about using this to do that low stakes writing is that at the end, I can finish this. I can then get the results, all right? So I'm going to finish this so I can show you, and I get the reports. I can download those reports. They can come to me in an email. They can go to my Google Drive. They can just be there. It comes down as an Excel worksheet. This is going to show your names. So, all right, this is what it shows up for. This right here can then be stolen and given right to your administration to show that you are doing growth-based activities in your classroom. You are doing things that are occurring in the classroom on a daily basis. Socrative also allows you to do a true-false question. So if you're in there, I can literally give you an exit ticket that simply says, did the bear in the story, was the bear in the story diligent? True? Yes, he was. False? No, he wasn't. And you can type that in. Go ahead. True, he was diligent. False, he wasn't. And you can immediately see based upon the class. And if you look at this, right, 69% to 31%, if that was a true example, right, you know right away, I've got 30% of my class that didn't quite understand the connection between the character and the use of that word in the story, right? Now, the other one that's in here, and I can finish that, is the multiple choice. You can set this up ahead of time where your quick question is what these are. The other ones that you can do is literally the exit ticket. But the exit ticket in Socrative, they're already pre-formatted. So this question is, how well did you understand today's material? Totally got it, pretty well, not very well, not very well at all. What did you learn in today's class? Which I hate that as a question because you're not always going to get you're not going to get necessarily the specific information you were wanting. For example, I would have been that smart aleck kid who wrote down that I know I'm not supposed to wear pink and red together, right? Even though had nothing to do with what we were doing in class, but a girl wore pink and red together that day and everybody laughed, right? So I don't necessarily like that question a whole lot. And then please answer the teacher's question, and that can be anything that you want it to be. These right here, again, once you finish it, you get all of those reports in a downloadable fashion, something you can take with you, something you can then immediately get that feedback from. So again, this is another way to get your students actively involved in a very quick way, get their brain thinking a little bit, give you data back, and get you information that you want. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so sketchnoting is not new. And sketchnoting is got a small resurgence because there's more cooler pens, there's neater paper, everybody's got the neat notebooks. Sketchnoting itself basically takes any information that you are inputting and allows the students to doodle it out. So I'm gonna let you watch this just for a second. All right, so sketchnoting is literally putting in that picture format whatever it is that the student is seeing. So in Padlet, we had them write things, right? Or you could add a video. You can also do own videos in there as well. In this right here, I had you go to the board after you came to a consensus on what that word meant and draw a picture towards it. We used to believe that students who doodled in class weren't paying attention. Were we wrong? Here's the reality of sketchnoting. Sketchnoting itself allows that student to be actively involved in their thinking process of what's going on. It's very similar to playing a game. You guys don't sit down and learn to play Monopoly and then not play it. You don't not play with the little people, and you touch the money and you look at the places on the board. Anytime we do something new, we want to touch it. We want to play with it a little bit. Sketchnoting allows that student to take any information at that very basic trivial level and think about it to a greater degree. This allows them to put it into a visual format rather than just a note format. I want you all to think back to your taking notes from PowerPoint days. You wrote down everything that was on the PowerPoint, and it was all in text. It was exactly what the instructor thought. This allows your student to put that same information down and now draw connections to them. Draw connections to whatever is being said and or done. You'll notice here, this is from a TEDx, right? Down here they have a guy who's climbing a mountain. Something made the connection to him or her to what is being said. So now they can think about it in terms of what is relevant to them as opposed to what is relevant to the instructor. How many of you have seen kids doodle in class? I love our art teachers on campus. When they go to a meeting, our art teachers never listen. If you're watching them, they're never listening. They're not. They all bring their sketchbooks. And as they are, and I say they're not listening facetiously, as they are at that meeting, they are drawing the entire time. Now, as teachers, we'll look at that a lot of times and we'll say, you cannot do both those things. But it's such an easy thing to do. If you all look at your notes, you've got a notebook. Do you have any drawings in there?
I have scribbles, yeah.
Scribble stuff. How come?
I don't know, because it helps me like think about what I need to do later.
Absolutely. And that's what we do as human beings. We make those connections. Our art teachers, when they go to those meetings, are drawing the whole time as they're listening. It keeps them focused. Then they're drawing things, excuse me, that are relevant to what is being said in those meetings. Our students will do the same thing. But oftentimes we don't allow them to, because if they don't have everything that's been written down on the board, how are they ever going to remember everything that's there? I don't want anybody to turn around right now. Don't turn around. I'm going to ask you a question. All right? The group back here had 2 symbols. What were those symbols? You guys can't answer. Car and fire and the female thing. Now here's the thing with that. If I ask you that next week, chances are you guys are going to remember what that is, and what that is. Even though you're going to have a ton of information between then and now. And that's what that drawing allows those students to do. This sketchnoting, if you go to, and I believe Pinterest has everything in the world to blame for this. I blame everything on Pinterest. It's the deep well of, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is one of those, you start on it and then you just, 2 hours later, you don't have anything done, right? This right here is an example of what you can do in your classroom with that sketchnoting. So here's what you can do. You can put these questions up on the wall. And then your students can either put a sticky note underneath each one. They could draw something. They can do a Padlet. They could do a Socrative. There's a ton of different things that you could do with that. Those students are going to remember that visual and the picture much quicker than they're ever going to remember anything else. And if you look through Pinterest any time of day, almost everything is visual. We talked really quickly and early on about how our students, if they go to Google to do research, they're not looking at the text, they're looking at the images. And part of that is because of the world that they're living in. Our students are living in that image-based world. So don't be afraid to do something like this with your students, or give them the freedom to. Every student's not going to want to draw. You're going to have those students who are very linear thinkers. But when you have a student who wants to do this, allow them to. See where their brain takes them. Allow them to see what's going on there. All right? Now, oh, cute. I love kids. Hi. No. So up on the board, I've got a circle. You won't be able to see. It's a square. And around that square are letters of the alphabet. Now, you can do this a lot of different ways. Your students oftentimes want to get up and move. It could be a 6th or 7th hour class. They've done nothing but sit all day long, or it's right after recess. The last thing they want to do is sit in the classroom. Take them to the gym. Or get rid of these chairs and desks in your classroom. Just move them off to the side. Put up the letters of the alphabet. Keep them there consistently so that they're always there. And this does work a little bit better, although seniors do love doing this, right? So now your students have that list of vocabulary words that they were supposed to memorize, or they're supposed to have learned, that they're supposed to have dealt with. And so now what you can do is you can throw out the question, and you can say, so what does it mean to really stick to something until you get it accomplished? And now that student has to run and touch each letter of the alphabet in order. Now, 2 things you're doing here. 1, you're getting them moving. You're going to wear them out doing this, especially if it's an upper level class and you have big words like diligent, because they have to go to D-I-L-I-G-E-N-T. That gets them going. It gets them moving. You do get an automatic feedback as to whether or not they're going to those words. Think about this with middle school students, where it's very simple, or it's more simple words, right? Where they're there. Now you can do this with teams. You split your class into 2 teams. And something might be, you know, you throw out a vocab definition, and whichever team shouts it out first has to go touch all those. And the team that gets all the things touched first gets back to their group, they get a point. Very simple to do. It gets them out, gets them moving, gets them thinking. Do I suggest doing this every single class period to touch on vocab? Probably not. But it is something that can happen with that. The other thing you can do is, what do we call it? We call it steal the bacon. You put something in the middle, and you do the very same thing, except instead of them touching each of the letters, so you throw it out, this team over here, right? The first person who shouts out diligent, somebody else over there shouts out diligent. They have to run to the center. They have to grab the bacon or flour or whatever you put out there. Don't put out real bacon, that would be bad, right? And then they have to steal this, and then they have to run back to their group before the other group gets it. Again, gets them up, gets them moving. It's a quick vocab. It's different than a Kahoot because it does get them up and moving, and you do automatically figure out, do they know these words or do they not know these words? Thoughts? Lots of stuff here. Questions? Simple? Can you see yourself using any of these? Here's the reality of this. All of these are active based. All of these are things that get them thinking and moving at the same time so that they can go to where you need to go with that. I've got a ton of these, a ton. And I'm going to put that list in D2L. Do not attempt between now and the time of retirement to try them all. What I do suggest is don't lose the list, because here's the thing. If I'm that teacher who always does seal the bacon, that's the only thing they ever expect. You always have to shake it up a little bit in that vocab knowledge, in that basic trivial knowledge of what they need to do. All right? Thoughts? All right. This week you'll have Flipgrid and stuff to read. This week you read about social media. Thoughts? And it freak anybody out allowing the students to use social media? We're going to play with that a little bit next week. All right. Have a great week. If you need something from me, let me know. All right? Rebecca, you good? Stay warm.
Thanks.
Yeah. What's his name?
Jace.
Oh, I love it. He's a cutie. Have fun.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.